Congratulations. You just got your hands on a mirrorless camera, and now you need to know how to use it. So for this example, let's say you've got this Canon M100. This camera is probably 3 or 4 years old, but it still records in 1080p. And once you put a lens on it, a high quality lens, the picture is impeccable. But what do you need to do first? Let's take a look at some of the most important things, and that is the settings of the camera, because a lot of people do not understand what these settings do, what they mean, why they're important. It may seem just plain confusing to you. So I'll tell you how I adjust my settings and the things I do to get the best picture possible. So let's start with this one. Let's start with shutter speed. This is one of the most important ones. Now, if you look at the bottom of your screen and you see a fraction, that's the shutter speed. That's how many frames it takes for every 1 second of video footage. You might see 1/24, 1/50, 60, 180, whatever the number is. Now, this is the one setting that you're going to set, and you're not going to touch it unless you change your frame rate. And your frame rate is this. So you might see something that says 30 frames a second, 60 frames a second, or 24. Now, if you want your pictures to appear more cinematic, go with 24. If you want regular type things that come out your smartphone, do 30. And if you're recording something with a lot of movement, then go 60. So how does this relate to that shutter speed? Whatever frame rate you choose, just double it, and that's the number you pick for your shutter speed. For example, let's say I'm filming in 24. I love to film in 24. So I'll try to find 1/48. But if I can't find that, you find the next closest thing. So for me, I'll go to 1/50. Most people, they want to record at 30 frames a second. So they'll pick 30 frames times 2, which is 60. So you find 1/60. If you're trying to film things in slow motion and a lot of movement, then you would pick the 60 frames a second and then find the shutter speed that's 1/120. So you see how that works? So you want to set that for what you have. Now, if you're filming a podcast or a talking head shot like this, pick 30 frames a second, set your shutter speed to 1/60. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now we have that set. Now here's the next thing. It's aperture. And here's the important thing about aperture. The aperture refers to the opening of the lens. So watch this. So you see if I pick a low aperture number and you see how wide the lens is, the blades on the lens are very short. But if I turn it up like this, you see that? The blades come out and almost cover the whole sensor. So let me tell you how aperture works. It's an F number. It says F, and then it's 2.8, 1. Whatever the number is. Your individual lens has a number for that. Now, when you start really getting into this thing with prime lenses and things like that, then you get the blurry background. So take a look behind me. You see how that light right here is, this light? How it's kind of blurred like that? Because I have a low aperture number. I'm at like 1.0. So let me move to the side and I'll show you. Actually, watch this. Okay, so what I just did is I turned on these Christmas lights in the tree right there. And if you see them, all you see is little lighted dots right there. See one right there. Yep, that's it. That's because of my low aperture. But let me move out the way and show you what happens. Did you see how sharp that got? So what happens is the aperture causes the camera to focus what's in the foreground and it blurs the background. So you can set your aperture to the point that makes you feel comfortable. But keep in mind, the higher you put the number, the less light comes into the sensor and it may darken the image that you're trying to get. So I recommend setting it as low as it can go. Okay, So if you take a look at the front of your lens, you will probably see the number I'm talking about. So on this lens, it goes down to 3.5 all the way to 6.3. Now, easy way to understand that is think about the millimeters, and the lower number is how much of the blade is showing. So let's say 3.5 millimeters of the blade is showing, therefore it's open wide. But if it's higher number, like 6.5, that means 6 millimeters of the blades are showing, therefore covering up more of the lens, and it makes the picture darker. So take a look at this. You see those numbers in there? That is it right there. Okay. So set that number as low as it can go. Go ahead and put it down to 3.5. You want to get enough light into the sensor to make your image quality look good. So the next one is ISO, ISO. If you look at the bottom list of the menu of your camera, you'll see something there. It may have ISO, then there's a number after it. What that refers to is the sensitivity of the sensor to the light that's coming into the camera. So the thing about ISO is this. You look at the bottom of your screen and you'll see a number that says ISO and there's a number after it. Now, think about it like this. Let's make it simple. ISO refers to how bright the picture can get. If it's a low number and you have a lot of light, that's good. That's a good thing. Try to keep this number as low as you can. If you're in a well-lighted place, you can keep it at 100. If you have studio lights and things going on like I have, then you can still keep it low. But keep in mind, the higher you put your number, the less attractive your picture looks. So let's say, for instance, I put this at ISO 6400. It's going to make the picture look terrible. It's not going to look good. So try to keep this as low as you can. Here's my advice. Set it no higher than like ISO 600. And depending on the lens, you can get a lower ISO number. Use other things around you to increase the light of the picture so you can keep that ISO number low and not lose your picture quality. So there you go. So let's review. 1, you're going to take your shutter speed and set it to be twice your frame rate. And your frame rate is what you want to film in, 24, 30, or 60. Therefore, your shutter speed is going to be 1/50, 1/60, or 1/120. Second thing, number 2, is the aperture. Try to keep this as low as you can. The lower the aperture number, the more blurred background you get. That creates separation between you and the background, stand out more, improves the picture quality. Number 3 is the ISO. Try to keep this number as low as you can. If you can keep it at ISO 100, that'd be perfect. But don't go over 600 unless you really, really have to. But you should try to light your area. Try to use some daylight from windows or anything to keep from going above that. And depending on the lens you have, you may be able to achieve better results. So that's all I got. Congratulations on taking this step to make content for you and your fans. I hope everything goes well for you. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below.